Most people treat the voice in their head like background noise, like a neighbor's TV you've learned to live with. But that little voice does a whole lot more than comment on your to-do list or make snarky remarks while you're trying to sleep. Your inner voice is one of the biggest forces shaping how you think, how you decide, and how you feel. And the funny thing, most of us never stop to ask what on earth it's doing up there. Here's where it gets interesting. Not everyone has an inner voice the same way. Some people have a full running commentary, like their brain is hosting a podcast 24 hours a day. Others hear their voice only during big decisions or stressful moments. And some people barely hear one at all. They think mostly in pictures or sensations. Science has known this for decades, but most people don't find out until they hear someone say, "Wait, you don't hear sentences in your head?" So where does this voice even come from? Psychologists call it inner speech, and it develops during childhood. You can actually see the transition when kids talk to themselves while playing, out loud narrating everything they're doing. Over time, that speech moves inward. What once came out of your mouth turns into thought. And for the most part, that's great. If adults narrated everything out loud the way kids do, society would collapse in a week. Inside your brain, inner speech lights up the same language regions you use for speaking, which means you're basically holding conversations with yourself all day long. Sometimes helpful conversations, sometimes, "Why did you say that out loud in ninth grade?" conversations. It's normal. Your brain remembers the weirdest things. The real question is not whether you have an inner voice, but what tone it uses. Some people have a supportive inner coach. It encourages them, plans ahead, solves problems. Others have a strict internal critic that sounds like an annoyed gym teacher who never leaves. And some people carry an inner voice that doesn't belong to them at all. It's the voice of a parent, a teacher, or someone from years ago whose tone stuck. That happens more often than you'd think. But even the harsher inner voices usually have a job. They're trying to protect you. The brain is wired with a negativity bias. It pays more attention to risks than rewards, because, historically, that kept humans alive. Your ancestors who worried lived to tell the tale. The ones who said, "What bear?" didn't. The problem is that the brain is using prehistoric software to deal with modern stress. That's why your inner critic overreacts to emails, social situations, or anything slightly uncomfortable. It's doing its best. It's just not updated for the times. And then you have the people who don't hear an inner voice much at all. They think in images, shapes, movement, or nonverbal impressions. That style can be amazing for creativity, but it can make planning or self-talk harder. Imagine trying to give yourself a pep talk using only a slideshow of mental pictures. It works. Kind of. But it's like using charades to solve your emotional life. Here's the hopeful part. Your inner voice isn't fixed. It's not who you are. It's just a habit, one that can be reshaped. The tone, the pattern, the attitude, all of it can shift. People change their inner dialogue every day without realizing that's what they're doing. One new insight, one new perspective, and suddenly the voice talks differently. And that's where things start to get interesting. The turning point comes when you stop treating your inner voice like an authority figure and start treating it like a tool you actually get to shape. The first step is simply paying attention. Most people never slow down long enough to hear what their inner voice is really saying. They feel the emotions, but not the sentences behind them. So the next time you feel stressed or hesitant, pause for a second and listen. What did the voice say? What tone did it use? Does it sound like you, or does it sound like someone you grew up around? Awareness doesn't fix everything, but it changes the whole relationship. Once you can hear it clearly, you stop blindly believing it. You move from "this is my truth" to "this is just a thought that wandered in." After that comes labeling. It sounds too simple to matter, but it's one of the most effective psychological tricks out there. When your inner critic starts up, identify it. Literally think, "Oh, that's the critic," or "there goes the worrier," or whatever fits. The moment you label it, Your brain moves the thought out of the identity box and into the observation box. You're not the thought. You're the person noticing the thought. That one shift gives you more control than people realize. Then comes questioning. Not arguing, just questioning. The inner voice talks like it has a PhD in everything, but half the time it's running on outdated fears. So when a heavy or negative thought hits, respond with something simple like, "Is that actually true?" Or, "Where did you get that idea?" Your inner voice will usually reveal that it's not delivering facts, it's delivering habits. And that's when you can start reshaping it. One of the easiest ways to redirect your inner voice is through realistic reframing. Not fake positivity, not "I am unstoppable," when you don't even feel mildly stable. Just grounded truth. When your voice says, "You're going to screw this up," answer with, "Even if I mess up, I know how to handle it." That kind of response actually sticks. It sounds human. It sounds believable. Your brain respects believable. Another technique is speaking to yourself the way you'd speak to someone you care about. Most people give better advice to others than they give themselves. If someone else was overwhelmed, you'd encourage them. But when it's you, suddenly the tone changes from coach to judge. So flip it. Ask yourself, if a friend were in this situation, what would I say? Then say that. Yes, it feels weird at first, but your brain listens. It always listens. There's also a quieter side of the inner voice, the intuitive one, the one that doesn't shout but nudges, the subtle sense that something feels right or wrong or incomplete. Science shows that intuition often comes from your brain recognizing patterns you didn't consciously notice. That quiet inner voice comes from deep processing, not magic. And while it's not perfect, it's worth paying attention to, especially when it's persistent. The best part of all of this is that your inner voice can evolve with you. You're not stuck with the voice you grew up with. You're not stuck with the critic you inherited. Your brain rewires based on repetition and new patterns. Neuroplasticity is real, and it doesn't expire at adulthood. You can train your inner voice to be calmer, kinder, wiser, more grounded. You can teach it to support your decisions instead of attacking them. You can guide it the way you'd guide a younger version of yourself. Because in a way, that's exactly what it is. Your inner voice is the echo of every experience that shaped you. It's messy, imperfect, stressed, protective, but it's trying. And when you slow down and reshape it intentionally, it becomes something powerful. It becomes clarity. It becomes confidence. It becomes peace. And here's the simplest place to start. Notice the next thought that pops up. Don't judge it, just watch it. That tiny moment of awareness is the beginning of a new pattern, a new tone, a new voice. Sometimes the most surprising part of working with your inner voice is realizing how much of it was never truly yours to begin with. We all absorb tones, fears, expectations, and beliefs from the people who shaped us. Some of those voices helped us grow. Others held us back without meaning to. But once you recognize that, you get a kind of freedom most people never experience. You get to decide which parts you keep and which parts you finally set down. If you like this and want more videos that break down the hidden patterns behind how your mind works, make sure to subscribe. It helps the channel grow, and it tells the algorithm you want more of this kind of content. Thanks for being here, and take care of that voice in your head. It's listening to you more than you know.